let's talk about Kelvin and why it's so important to switch from auto white balance to start using Kelvin and why it shouldn't be so scary for you guys. So, why are we using it? One is because you want to have as much control over your camera as possible. The only thing I keep in auto is my focus. And that's because the camera is just going to be much better at that than I am. The camera is not going to be good at reading light as well as I am. I don't know about you guys, but when I use auto white balance, all the images come and they're a little bit dark and blue, and the skin tones are a little bit dull. And I just wasn't happy with it. And so I started using an Expo disc, and that has helped. That helped when I was using the Expo disc, but the problem was you have to stop to use an Expo disc. So you have to stop the session when the lighting has changed and redo and reset everything up. And if you like do it right, if you like talk to your clients, like there's ways to make it transition really well. But when you're in a situation where there's a bunch of kids running around, it's not as simple as being like, oh, hold on, stop. I've got to go change my white balance real quick. So that's another thing. You just want more control of your session and everything. You want more control of the images that are in camera. You also are going to be able to decrease your editing time. I don't spend a lot of time on my white balance. Sometimes like I was off a little bit and I have to I tend to be a little bit warmer in camera. So whenever I shoot, I'm like, ooh, warmth, like sunshine. So sometimes I have to cool it down in Lightroom, but you have a lot more control. It takes less time to edit it because it's not so completely off that you have to really figure out the colors. It just helps out with that. You're also going to be able to confidently turn your camera around and show what the image looks like. So because of that, you're going to be able to show your clients a little bit more. There we go. Sorry. You're going to be able to show your clients more of the images that you take in camera. So I don't know about you guys, but again, when I use auto white balance, everything is very blue on my back of my screen. So when I turn it around, there's like blue skin tones and everything, and I'm not like really confident with when I did that. So when I'm using Kelvin though, I'm able to turn it around and their skin isn't like orange or blue because nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to have like, oh my gosh, like because they're looking at their faces. That's the first thing they're going to look at. How do I look? Especially women. How do I look? Am I smiling? Okay. Do I, have weird lines on my face? Like, what do I look thin? Everything like that. But let me tell you, they are going to notice if their skin is blue or it looks like they got a bad spray tan. They're just going to notice that. So that's something else you're going to be able to do is turn the back of your camera around and be like, look how pretty you are. And they're not going to be weird colors. So how do we go about Kelvin? What does it mean? What are all those numbers mean? So if you switch your camera from auto white balance to Kelvin, and this isn't available on everyone's camera, if you have a crop frame, most of the time I think that it's not available to you, and that's okay. Like you guys can stick with the auto white balance. It's not the end of the world. But if you do have Kelvin, then definitely try and switch it over. And I'm going to teach you guys exactly how to do it. And again, I promise you, it's not so scary. So basically, Kelvin, it goes from 2,500 all the way to 10,000. And you're probably looking at those numbers and you're like, I don't even know what this means. Like, why would I put it on 2,500? Why would I put it on 10,000 and everything like that? So in Lightroom, when you're looking at your white balance in Lightroom at the very top, and they have that temperature gauge, okay? Think about that line right there. It goes from blue all the way to like a really golden color, okay? And if you go in Lightroom and you take that slider and you go all the way down towards the blue, your image becomes blue. And if you look at the number, it's always something really low, like 2,500, 3,000, 3,500. So that's what's going to happen if you pull your Kelvin all the way down to 25 or 3,000, your image is going to be a little bit bluer. But if you move it all the way up to 10,000, your image is going to be a lot more golden or orange. So think about those numbers. So 10,000, the higher you go on the scale, that one's going to be more orange and, kind of like the orangey skin tones and bad spray tans. And then on the lower end of that is more blue. So how do we know what color to put it on? Well, it all depends on your lighting situation. So different light is going to cast different color on the skin tones, okay? So if we are shooting in full sun, all right, Think about when the sun is out, there's no clouds in the sky or anything. It is very yellow and bright, and everything kind of looks a little orangey, right? Everything is bright. So what we need to do to counterbalance that orangey tone is put a little bit more blue. So you're going to start off at like, 4,000, 5,000 in harsh light. So 4,500 to 5,000 like that harsh light, because we need something to counterbalance that. If you are shooting at sunset, which is typically the time that I'm shooting at, or sunrise, and I'm talking about like during sunrise, not blue hour, during sunrise or sunset. The sun is coming up and everything. You're seeing the light coming across. It's still a little bit bluer. It's not as like harsh tones. The orange and colors are still not as harsh. So you're going to have to go up on your white balance to make it a little bit warmer to counterbalance that coolness. Same thing if it's, in the shadows or anything. If you're in a shadowed area, it's a little bit more blue. Your skin tones are a little bit bluer because you're in a shadowed area. So you're going to need to move your Kelvin up. Said a lot of words, it said a lot of numbers. So basically, end of the day, what all of this means is if you reduce the number, your images are going to be cooler or blue. If you increase the number, your images are going to be warmer or more orange. So what you do is start at a number like 6,500, right in the middle, okay? Take a picture. After you've exposed everything and everything, take a picture, look at the back of your camera. If it looks too blue in the back of your camera, that means you need to increase that number. And a little goes a long way. You don't have to, if it's at like 6,000 and it's like a tad blue, you don't have to increase it to 7,000, increase it to 6,500 and take another picture. Look at the back of the camera, see what it looks like, And this is what I do at the beginning of all my sessions. I get there about like 15 minutes early and I start playing around just with any light. And you can do it anywhere with any sort of light going on. If you're shooting like in the shade, you obviously want to be in the shade, figuring out your white balance. If you are shooting in full sun, you want to be in the full sun. But basically, that's it. Now, if you take a picture and it's way too warm, you're going to want to bring the number lower in Kelvin. So basically, that's exactly how Kelvin works. That is like the simplest way to do it. 2,500, you're never going to go that low unless you're inside. It's more so for like tungsten lights and stuff inside. If you are outside, most of the time you're going to be starting around like 5,000. 5,000 again is like really harsh light. I typically start my sessions around 6,500 or 7,000. And by the end of the session, when blue light's coming in, when the sun's going down, and most of the light that's coming in is more bluish and like a blue cast, then I'm going to up it between like about 8,000, sometimes even higher, depending on what it looks like. So that is just something, and it's easy. It's easy to change rather than using an expo disc. So I hope that helps with all of your questions on Kelvin. The best way to do it, honestly, is to go out and practice. Go out, practice, and see like what the images look like. Take a picture. Go outside right now, and go ahead and take a picture with your Kelvin all the way down and see what it looks like in the back of your camera, and then do it all the way up and see what it looks like. So you can kind of start reading it. Same thing if like go ahead and go out and put it right in the middle, put it at 6,500 and see what happens. I typically, because I shoot at sunset, I typically don't go below 6,500 unless it's like really harsh light, and then I'll have to like lower it a little bit more just to balance out that sunshine. So again, hope this was helpful for y'all. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I will come back and read them, and I will be back later.